the impact your book had on me years and years ago was around this idea of ego-oriented person versus a task-oriented person. I'm thinking of the example of an authority figure coming in where an ego, and so maybe you can describe what the two differences are. In my own words, I would say someone who's an ego-oriented person, the moment their boss walks into the room or a coach is watching them, then they're feeling like the weight of the world is on them. They feel like I've got to perform or else I'm going to suck. Versus a task-oriented person who is only focused on, I'm just going to execute this task. I'm going to enjoy doing it. I'm going to get better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're nailing it there. Like when an authority figure comes in, to me, it's irrelevant because this is my job, my role. I got to stay focused on the task. And I'm going to speak with as much precision and accuracy around the areas of that I'm responsible for, whether they're there or not, because I'm going to be accountable for it. And I think that's really why understanding the different generations is big, because anyone that comes in that thinks they're an authority and thinks they're above us, that's automatically the wrong mindset, because that's your ego wanting to be above others. You can be the CEO of a company, but that doesn't mean you know anything about performance psychology. So why would you come in with any authority over something you don't know anything about? And I'm not going to listen to that advice for the most part, because just because you're the CEO doesn't mean you know this field.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to always be respectful to people, but I'm not going to trust it. I think the word's trust, right? And I love that, the speed of trust. Trust is massive. And I heard this quote from, it's hard to, but I just got to say, I learned this from an apostle that said, God loves all of his children equally, but he does not trust them all the same. I absolutely love that, because it shows that we're all equal on the same level from the value in our souls and who we are. But the trust level is different depending on how competent you are. The more high functioning a human being you are, the more you're going to trust yourself and the more others will trust you. But trust is earned. Trust is always earned, and trust is earned by the level of competency you are. Just because you're the CEO, I'm not trusting you just because you're the CEO. I respect your title, but that doesn't mean you're competent. You could be, I've seen surgeons, I've been around surgeons that I'm like, dang, you're low functioning. Just because you're a surgeon doesn't guarantee you're high functioning. I've seen people that work on crossworks be incredibly high functioning human beings that I want to get to know more. Your title doesn't always mean you're high functioning at all.
I just want to emphasize this for anyone listening. You need to read the book. And if you're someone who's struggling like I was, and again, I'm not perfect with this. It's not like I've fully overcome this yet, but I was really, anytime I was in a high pressure sales situation, I would totally fold because I had this ego orientation. And I felt like the weight of the world was on me. But when I read your book and switched that to being this task oriented, and it's kind of like you're saying, it's like you don't care who's in the room with you. You know who you are and the task you need to complete and what you're going to do and who you are as a person. Completely shifted the trajectory of my career, because I went into sales meetings not saying to myself, if I don't make this sale, I'm not going to provide for my family. I'm not this, like it was a spiral, versus going in and saying, hey, I've prepared for this. I'm going to have fun and learn from this experience. And I don't have full control over the outcome, but I am going to control the things that I can control. And then ironically, you start making more sales, so.
Yeah. Britt, you'd relate to this. I remember years ago, I became friends with Bronco Mendenhall. We used to play tennis together first. We were friends before anything else. And he read the book and he liked it. So he invited me over to go and do a session with all these coaches. I mean, talk about male testosterone in one room, right? This is a while ago. And so I walk in, I get there early. I'm always early. I'm there 5 minutes early and the door shuts when I'm walking down the hall. I'm like, what's going on? Then the door opens and they bring me in and Bronco's like, we need to, give Craig some leeway here because he doesn't know that the meetings always start 5 minutes early. I'm like, and I just walk in just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Just being myself. And I love Robert and I. such a good relationship with Coach and I. He was awesome. I loved him. But he's given me the death stare as I'm walking. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy cow, I got to turn it on. I'm going to get eaten alive. These coaches are just staring at me like, who the heck are you? And I did what you're saying. Like, Stephen, I just went into, okay, I got to switch in. I got to be assertive. I got to do my thing. I'm going to focus on the task and I'm just going to do what I need to do. And I just did it. And Bronco's like, okay, everyone, I need a meeting with just Craig, Robin, and myself. Everyone's out. I was like, oh, I guess. And that was the beginning of working with the football team. But I just went in. At first, I was like, oh, I'm going to get eaten alive. I'm like, okay, now I got to do my thing. Focus on the task, do what I know is right, and just do my stuff. That's the biggest thing I wish I'd learned when I was younger is own who you are, know your strengths, own who you are, and just keep learning and keep getting better. There's no fear when you do that. Mm-hmm. And so, by the way, can we hit that, guys, for a minute? There's two parts in the prefrontal cortex that we can see. We can see the heat signatures and we can see the gray matter now because of the fMRI. One of the parts is the amygdala, which houses fear. This is amazing research. Fear is a concept or a construct, meaning we create fear through reactive language. Don't miss this. I can't do this. I can't do that. That triggers the limbic system's fight or flight response. Fight creates angry emotion, and flight creates high anxiety. If we become too angry and we have too much anxiety, that leads to aggression, whereas where we act on that emotion, that stems from a concept. There's 3 levels. Mm-hmm. The opposite part of the brain, the same almond-shaped part, it's an almond-shaped part, the opposite is called the hippocampus. And this is unbelievably important, I think. The direct opposite of fear is learning. Well, why? Well, because fear is a concept or a construct that we create, meaning we create fear through our own thoughts. Learning is the complete opposite. When you develop a learning mentality, not a growth mentality, a learning mentality, there's a subtle difference. You stop judging yourself. And I'm going to use this language. We as a human race have such a bad habit of making all of these snap-dot judgments that we judge ourselves in one moment all the time. But when you have a learning mentality, you just stop judging yourself. Every moment in time is an opportunity to learn more about who you are and to learn more about life. If you just stop judging, judgment goes. And it's just you trying to learn and become better. And so learning leads to memory recall. And so that's massive. There's way more here, and I don't want to take the whole session. Let's just go too deep. The opposite of high anxiety and anger is memory recall, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
The research actually shows you don't really lose your memory because of age. You lose your memory because the older you get and the more angry emotions or the more high anxiety emotions you store in your subconscious, the more you forget things. You don't remember things when you're angry. You think about it with your spouses. When you're angry, after a while, you don't even remember what you're angry about. You're just angry that they're angry because you can't remember things when you're angry and you can't remember things when you have high anxiety. So the more you learn to be a learner and the more you learn to relax and not trigger fear, the better memory recall you have. The better memory recall you have, the more intelligent you are, and the more you remember all your skills. Especially in athletics, that memory recall is how we unlock our talents, is by having a better memory. It's unbelievable. The athletes I've had the blessing to work with, the best, they have incredible memories. They remember everything. And that's why they do so well.
Yeah, I've seen videos of LeBron recounting plays from years ago, to the T, right?
Yep.
I mean, I can even think of plays back, like you said, in some of your best games, you can think of plays. That's so fascinating. It's almost that idea of your mind is always occupied, but it can't host the two things at once. It's either here or there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Two different parts of the brain.
Let me ask you something, Britt. So talking about this concept of fear that Dr. Manning, you just talked about. Britt, what was it like for you in the Super Bowl 2 years ago going in? Where were you at as far as fear, anxiety? I was at the Super Bowl. I was watching Britt in the stands. It was awesome. First time I've ever been to the Super Bowl. Britt had had some awesome plays. He almost took a punt to the house. One guy, that was all there was. But I remember being in the stands, sitting there when Kansas City was punting to you, and just like I was dying in the stands, right? I mean, how do you like how was that? How was that for you, right? You grew up your whole life watching the Super Bowl, and then you're doing one of the hardest plays in football, catching a punt. How do you deal with fear on the field?
Yeah, and I think you know, specifically being a punt returner is one of those unique positions where, you know, a lot of people think like everyone's judging you, all the eyes are on you. No, as a punt returner, everybody is judging you and all eyes are on you. It's just one of those positions.
There's no one else, yeah.
Nobody else back there, right? You do feel a little bit alone. And honestly, I've learned so much about myself, about this concept in the last 2 years. Like if I were to compare where I am today as to where I was, you know, as a rookie, just mentally. And it's kind of, for me, especially in the Super Bowl or in any big game I play in, it's like you said, Dr. Manning, kind of that acceptance of I'm going to live with the outcome and I'm going to focus. I've learned, and actually learned this from our mental health counselor, I've learned to focus on one kind of specific bodily movement that focuses my mind in a different spot, because my mind can only be occupied by multiple things. And so with the Super Bowl, I was like, I can either think about how big the situation is, or I can think about putting my right elbow to my rib cage, because that's like my one task that I've got to do.
Yeah.
And for me, just kind of filling my mind with that thought totally is like what you said, the hippocampus or whatever, right? It kind of drives the learning and the focus on the technique and that idea of memory, muscle memory, and it takes away all of the big anxiety, futuristic thinking, what's going to happen. I think I'm at a point in my career now, not always, because I do still get really nervous all the time, and I think that's probably normal, but where when I do get nervous, I know what pattern of thinking can help me.
You have the mental skills. I would say it this way, you have the mental skills now that you know what you need to focus on to navigate that pressure. The pressure doesn't go away and the nerves doesn't go away. You just have the skills of how to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
And I would love to have you as a contact this year. I mean, it's so interesting. And I'm sure you have such insight with working with guys like Giannis, and it just, the balance of not worrying about the outcome and the anxiety of what could happen, but then also the visualization and visualizing positive outcomes. It's that same concept of goals and, you know, and
always. Yeah.
Got to believe always. And so, I have so many, I could just grill you for hours.
I'd love to. Yeah. Let me know for sure. Anytime you want to.
I'll have you come speak to the Eagle.
Yes. No, that'd be great. It's so interesting what you talk about, though. Can I just add to that, like some of the stuff you just said? I remember Game 6. We're at the FISA Forum in Milwaukee, and I knew what all the players were focusing on. I mean, obviously, didn't work with all of them, but worked with a big percentage of the team, getting everybody focused. I did a lot of work, not just with the players, but with the support staff, like even the security. Wanted to make sure everyone was communicating the same thing. We didn't want any security guard saying, well, how's your knee? Is your knee still hurting? I'm like, you can't focus on what's wrong. You got to focus on the right things. So we were doing trainings for everyone to keep everyone in the right mindset, you know, and then we're at the game. For me, being present is big, just being in the moment, enjoying the game, not stressing about the future, but being present, enjoying it. And all of a sudden I remember is just, we sit right behind the bench and all of a sudden the head security guy comes up and says, when we win this, get on the floor. And I was like, what? I was straight away, I was like, what the heck are you thinking about? Stay in the present. And I look up and Giannis and Chris are celebrating. And I stood up and I was like, what? And then I look at the scoreboard and I'm like, gee, I don't think we can lose this now. I think we've got this. So I'm calculating, like, there's no way they can come back. I was like, what happened? Like time, like you're just so present. You're not letting your mind go to the future. You're not in the past. You're just so in it. All of a sudden, we'd won. And I was like, we just won the NBA championship. How did that happen? All of a sudden, I mean, we lose that game and we go back to Phoenix. We'd only ever beaten them once. Our coach had never beaten Phoenix except for that game 5. Like we needed to win this game, but if you focus on winning, you don't win because that's outcome, right? Because you don't execute. All of a sudden we'd won, and I was like, how did that happen? I don't even know how that happened. It just happened. But everyone was so present and so focused on the task. No one was thinking about winning. It happens if you focus on the process. That winning just takes care of itself. Yeah, that just really, what you're talking about, Britt, there, it just, same for even me. When I'm watching, I have to be present when I'm watching.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't enjoy it.
What a story. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was weird.
This has been amazing, Dr. Manning. Again, we could go on for hours, but
Yeah.
Brett, I'm gonna, Brett, you kind of had the closing one with how you wanted to wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, first, just thank you so much. Seriously, it's been such a pleasure. And especially for me, you know, someone who's been around some incredible athletes and just I'm like a fly on the wall whenever I'm around guys like Jalen, you know, Kelsey, Lane Johnson. So it's really cool just to hear all of this. I think just the one thing that I want to, and I'm sure the listeners would like to know is, give us in your mind some application that you start on. Obviously, read the book. That's application 1. But this idea of knowing who you are or finding your purpose, whatever it is, give us some application that you can start on, kind of a starting point, something that we can do today that will help us in that journey, that path.
So this is a simple thing I start everything. And the formula is love equals competency. So this is nothing new. This goes back to Pavlov, although there's so much cutting edge research that's coming out because of the fMRI. But this goes back to Pavlov and his dog. Simply get a journal and write down at the end of each day 3 things you did well and 1 thing you can do better. What that will do is it'll bring awareness to the things you're good at, to your strengths, your competencies. So that's massive. Number 1 is figure out what your strengths are. Second is ask yourself the question, what do I love to do? Because love will help you to reveal 9 out of 10 times, not always, but for the most part, focus on what you love, you'll find where your competencies are. So it's an equal, right? So love equals competency, but competence equals love. So really try to figure out your strengths and who you are and what you love to do. And it can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional. You know, one of my 4 kids, his strengths is academics. You know, he's just so smart. And so we're trying to foster that and build that around his strengths. One of my kids is very, very right-brained, which I am not, in trying to help her find her strengths, which is drawing and art. And it's just not my area, but trying to help her find that. You know, obviously I was a tennis family and everyone thinks you have to do what your parents did. No, I knew the science. I tried to help my oldest daughter. What do you love to do? Do you love tennis? I'd take him down at 2:00 in the afternoon in the middle of summer when it's the hottest and drill them in tennis. And they'd be within half an hour wanting to sit under the tree. You don't love tennis. But Abby got into rock climbing. He's like, I'm going to do rock climbing, like she was stubborn. I'm like, great. I just want you to do what you love. I mean, she ends up making the Australian Olympic team and finishing 21 in the world and the 21 and unders because she did something she was passionate about, right? If you know who you are, that helps you get into a flow state, which is a superpower. So if you know who you are, you're going to know what you want. That helps you get into flow state and you're going to work on skills and you're going to develop skills so rapidly because you're always thinking about it and it's always on your mind. So to me, it comes back to focus on what you love and focus on the things that you do best. The 3-to-1, 3 things you did well, 1 thing you can do better. It's just such a good mental habit.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna follow up with you about that. I'm starting that and I'll follow up with you about that before this season.
Sounds good, mate. Absolutely.
That's great. Well, thanks again, Dr. Manning. This was awesome. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. Britt, thanks, guys.